Hey, Marlins fans, welcome to a new episode of Big Fish, Small Pod here on the Fish on First podcast channel, bringing you complete Miami Marlins coverage. I am Eli Sussman. This pod brought to you by our merchandise partners at About the Fans. Check them out, aboutthefans.com. Scroll to the FOF collection. FOF branded hats, t-shirts, stickers, other Marlins inspired designs. Save 10% off your order with the promo code FOF10 at checkout. As is usually the case at the start of each week, this is my Marlins prospect spotlight episode of the Small Pod, covering players from each full season level of the Marlins minor league system that are sticking out to me, and I think you should be getting more familiar with. 15 minutes or less, starting with low A Jupiter, and somebody that I would not have recognized at all entering this year. If you're watching on YouTube, that is the face of Carlos Sánchez, a Venezuelan catcher who's been with the organization quietly for parts of 4 seasons, signed in 2022. He started this year as the backup in Jupiter after several years in rookie ball. Not much to look at there until he went ballistic when the calendar flipped to May. His overall slash line this season with Jupiter, a 289 batting average, 396 on base percentage, a 444 slugging. That is a 142 WRC plus in 13 games, heavily propped up by what he's done in May, where he had been slashing 500, 556, 792 in 6 games. And then all of a sudden gets demoted to the Florida Complex League and hasn't appeared in a game since then, replaced by the newly converted catcher Jessica Brown, who is an undrafted free agent. I don't know what to make of that. Where all of a sudden the bat heats up, and you would think that he at least gets to play that out a little bit until somebody's able to retire him as a hitter. Only a 20-year-old who may have found something at the plate. Not somebody that's anywhere on our prospect radar at the moment, but I do find it very bizarre that he was sent down almost immediately after having the hottest offensive stretch of his career to this point. Something worth monitoring maybe later in the season. As you guys, if you've been following the farm closely, it has been a very encouraging year for catching prospects overall. So maybe Sánchez is the next one to pop off all of a sudden. Hope to see him on the field again soon. Moving up to high A Beloit, we go to Payton Green, an infielder drafted by the Marlins in 2024. A 6th round pick out of Georgia Tech. I have to stop here for a fun fact that no Marlins 6th round draft pick has made it to the majors since Scott Olson in 2002. Ever since then, for most of their history, their 6th rounders have always petered out somewhere in the minor leagues, whether it's with their organization or another one. Payton Green trying to buck that trend. He began this year in extended spring training, only made his full season debut with Beloit on May 1st. And since then, he's been raking, slashing 348, 396, 478. That is a 143 WRC plus in 12 games. Entering Sunday, he had multiple hits in 5 of his last 6 games. Very encouraging to see from Payton Green, playing full-time shortstop since moving to Beloit. Just from watching him, the ball doesn't exactly pop off of his bat. He's somebody that had decent offensive numbers in college, but nothing really more than that. And to this point in the season, hasn't hit a home run to this point. There is room for him to fill out physically. He is 6'3", rather large for a potential shortstop. Maybe over time, he adds more strength to that frame and it's able to change him a little bit, his projection-wise. But this has certainly been an incredible stretch for him offensively for a Beloit team that had been kind of up and down offensively so far this season without him. So he's now everyday shortstop for them and somebody to definitely keep an eye on. And to me, still that fun fact about 6th round picks with the Marlins always falling short, that really did wow me. So hoping that Green at least makes a strong push to end that as the year goes on. But he should be spending most of this year with Beloit, if I had to guess.
Fish on First has partnered with About the Fans to launch a merchandise collection. Rep the FOF logo and more Marlins-inspired apparel. Find it all at aboutthefans.com. Enter coupon code FOF10 at checkout to get 10% off your order. FOF10 for a 10% discount.
Now to Double A Pensacola. This is Dax Fulton, drafted by the Marlins way back in 2020. He is number 13 overall on the FOF top 30 list at this moment. He's been in Pensacola for a few years now. He was up and coming as one of the very best pitching prospects in this organization 3 years ago, but then the following year felt some elbow pain, had to undergo his second career Tommy John surgery. So he's just getting back into the swing of things after sitting out all of the 2024 season. His stats this year, a 3.60 ERA, which is good overall, but this is a very pitcher-friendly environment in the Southern League. So that is more or less a league average in terms of run prevention. A 5.02 FIP, less exciting there, but he is holding opponents to a 200 batting average in 25 innings pitched. He's coming off a very encouraging outing on Saturday where his fastball got up to 98 miles per hour from the left side. Nasty breaking balls. That has really been the staple of him as a prospect going back to when he was still in the draft. So that is still there, being able to get swings and misses below the zone with his breaking balls. I didn't see very many changeups that were either consistent or used at all during his most recent outing. That's still going to be a pretty big question for him moving forward, whether that can be part of his mix and make him a little bit more unpredictable. Overall control issues have been popping up throughout this year. Even in this most recent outing, walked 4 guys in the 5 innings that he pitched. Not a ton of non-competitive misses, I'll say. He is somebody that it looks there is a path to him getting that control back. Prior to his injury, he was showing flashes of actually being very solid from that standpoint. So there's optimism moving forward that he'll be able to get it together in an interesting situation because his Tommy John was going well enough. I should say his rehab from Tommy John was going well enough that the Marlins selected him on their 40-man roster after last season. They're already using up one of his option years this year. Seems doubtful that he debuts at any point in 2025. This is a long-term play. The clock is ticking a little bit now that they have him on the 40-man and are going through those option years with Fulton. Stretched out to 91 pitches in this most recent outing. That's good to see. Hoping that he just stays available, gets his reps in this year at AA. And if things go well enough, then I could see him getting up to Jacksonville during the second half of the season. Still a lot of promise for the 6'7" lefty, 23 years old. The velo coming back is exciting, but still I have that big question about whether his pitch mix is deep enough to really stick as a starter moving forward. The guy I wanted to focus on most on this episode of the show, that's Andrew Pintar with AAA Jacksonville, the outfielder acquired from the Diamondbacks last summer, considered the second piece of that AJ Puck trade behind Davis and De Los Santos. Now, both of these guys are with Jacksonville this year, and it's Pintar that is having the better season to this point. It got off to a relatively slow start. It's more so lately that he has absolutely caught fire. Number 25 on our FOF top 30 list. This season, Pintar slashing 344, 396, 445. That's a 135 WRC plus with 11 stolen bases in 38 games. He has made himself a fixture near the top of their lineup for the Jumbo Shrimp this year. And this is despite not performing well at all in AA. That's what makes his path unconventional, is that he had a partial season at AA last year, did not hit whatsoever. I think he suffered a scary hit by pitch injury on his face that caused him to miss some time. Did solidly in the Arizona Fall League. Still wasn't viewed as being especially close to being big league ready until recently, where he has just turned that corner offensively, especially against left-handed pitching. He is mashing with a platoon advantage, running up a 1394 OPS against lefties this season. It's worth mentioning that as much as his bat has value, so does his legs. He is a legit defensive center fielder. He is, by sprint speed, one of the fastest runners in all of AAA this season. He'd immediately be perhaps the fastest guy on the Marlins roster if they called him up as well. That is a significant part of his game and why it is that even entering this year, he was a easy top 30 prospect in this system. Offensively, there is some luck going his way. He enters Sunday with a 500 batting average on balls in play for the whole season. That is the highest among all qualified hitters at full season levels. That will inevitably come down for somebody that doesn't hit the ball especially hard this year. But still, somebody that with his legs and with his line drive ability is going to have value in an eventual big league role. I think it's just a matter of when, not if, he gets called up at some point during this year. He would be Rule 5 draft eligible in the offseason anyway, so he has to go on the 40-man roster. And to me, he's a pretty natural fit on this particular team in the near-term future. It's a skill set that's pretty similar to Derek Hill, except with more contact ability, obviously being younger. And Hill is struggling for the Marlins offensively this year. He's struggled offensively for a lot of his big league career. Last year down the stretch was kind of the exception to what has been the career norm for Hill, and he's out of options. The Marlins will give it more time to see exactly when Pintar comes back down to earth offensively. And don't want to totally give up on Hill as somebody that could have value to this team against left-handed pitching and as a pinch runner. I think that's the floor for Pintar, though, as a big leaguer. He's somebody that is, I want to say, a fourth outfielder or maybe a high-caliber fifth outfielder. He's somebody that has significant value late in games for his defense and his base running, and I think he's going to be able to hit enough to last for a few years with this team. I would think that maybe after the trade deadline, if Jesus Sánchez is somebody that the Marlins shop, given how far along he is in his club control years, you could see an outfield down the stretch of Kyle Stowers, Dane Myers, and Andrew Pintar in the middle. I believe that Pintar would be the best defensively out of that group. And this is the kind of season where you want to give these players an opportunity to show what they got. Even if realistically he's more of a part-time outfielder long-term, give him a chance to establish himself as a full-time guy. So it's a good problem to have with this Marlins outfield. They've played well for the most part collectively this season, and they have a lot of interesting guys that are kind of on the cusp of coming up, Pintar being one of them. It's not that crazy to think that he might turn out to be the more valuable big leaguer in that deal, even more so than De Los Santos. It's, again, a good problem to have if both of those guys are really knocking on the door for major league opportunities and have some skills I think are going to translate pretty well. To recap on this show, touched on catcher Carlos Sánchez, formerly with Jupiter, but now sent down to the FCL. Infielder Payton Green with Beloit, left-hander Dax Fulton with Pensacola, and outfielder Andrew Pintar with Jacksonville. I'll be doing another one of these prospect spotlights next week. I'm interested to hear your thoughts in the comments about how these guys fit with the Marlins' future moving forward. I've been Eli Sussman here on the Small Pod, brought to you by About the Fans. Promo code FOF10 to save 10% off your order at aboutthefans.com. Thanks for listening, and go fish.